From 1945 to 1948, Germany was split by the US, Great Britain, France, and the USSR. In 1949, a currency reform in West Germany caused the USSR to pull out of the agreement, and Germany was officially divided. Tensions between the US and the USSR led to the Berlin Wall being built in 1961, separating socialist East Germany and capitalist West Germany. By the late 1980s, East and West Germany were both pushing for reunification. Germany was reunified in 1989 and the Berlin Wall was torn down in 1990. In East Germany, after dealing with food shortages that ensured modifications to traditional German dishes, the full closure of the inner German border caused a scarcity in foods imported from capitalist countries. These foods, when available, would be bought in bulk and hoarded so that they could be used to barter for services and other scarce items. The economies of shortage, which included sharing, gift-giving, and bribing, were ways to cope with the lack of commodities. According to Mauss's ideas concerning gift exchange and Bourdieu's ideas on symbolic and social capital, this secondary economy would have acted as a way to create and reinforce relationships within a community through obligatory reciprocation. So, increased engagement in the community meant more social capital and thus access to symbolic capital. During the same time, the food situation in the newly capitalist West Germany transformed rapidly from being crippled with food insecurity to a booming, globalized food scene. Post-war, West Germans only had the money to buy the bare minimum of food, and a strict ration system drove many to depend on the black market for certain foods, thus isolating West Germans from each other by having them rely on themselves. After the introduction of capitalism and the market boom, West Germans focused more on convenience and the push towards globalization, consumerism, and moving on from the past. With the gap in cuisine caused by the decrease in popularity of traditional dishes, eating out at ethnic restaurants saved time. West Germans reinvented traditional ingredients and used them in bastardized versions of the ethnic dishes they ate at restaurants. This change highlights the shift away from the former inwardly focused Germany towards an internationally focused West Germany. Lastly, by stressing consumerism, West Germany was able to show how far they had come from the post-war food shortages. Eventually, West Germans forgot how to honestly engage with their own history, affecting their ability to self-identify as Germans. By the 80s, West Germans were already experiencing nostalgia about East German food, though it had only been about 20 years since West Germans had shared their cuisine. Immediately after reunification, East Germans embraced consumerism to the point of hyperconsumption. Choosing between the variety of West German brands was a way for East Germans to express agency in a way they couldn't under socialism. The culture of East Germany then radically changed from being one that focused on community, frugality, social networks, and reciprocity to one that focused on the hyperconsumption of material goods. Soon after, East Germans became dissatisfied with the cultural changes brought on by capitalism. In essence, they felt that their lives only revolved around money and that the trust, kindness, and former solidarity between people was gone, thus leading to nostalgie or nostalgia for the East. Food, which serves as a vehicle for recollections, was at the center of the nostalgie movement. Food and drink brands were brought back, and East Germans began to have communal lunches with each other again. However, nostalgie products were stripped of their cultural context and sold for a profit, showing how inculcated East Germans already were with consumerism. When both East and West Germany were created, neither of the populations would have felt like they were a part of these new countries because they had all grown up unified. Yet by the time Germany was reunified, they had separate cultures, values, and foods. This was done through the invention of national identities and through the introduction of new traditions. Canned goods in West Germany led to two new traditions: eating foods out of season and increasing leisure time. They also created a whole new cuisine to reflect their new cultural values. In East Germany, sharing food became the basis of East German culture, and it would later be used to re-establish their East German identities. Post-reunification, East Germans ate West German foods in order to signal their new identity as capitalists. Shifts in foods can also act as markers of epochal change. In West Germany, the use of traditional ingredients in internationalized foods marked the beginning of capitalism. In East Germany, nostalgie acknowledges the end of socialism and its culture. East and West Germany use food to simultaneously cope and interact with food scarcity in their new economic systems. East Germany turned to the strength of community while West Germany embraced individualism and globalism. Post-reunification, both East and West Germany also dealt with lasting effects of capitalism. Lastly, food is instrumental in encouraging nationalism through the invention of new traditions, creating and expressing collective identities, and acting as markers of epochal transitions.